previous tutorial, we had a play around with colors, and we had a look at 3 different approaches that we could take to coloring our bar chart. And we also discussed that coloring has a lot to do with personal preference, because I might find something appealing, but you might not find the same approach appealing, and vice versa. And therefore, there is that element of creativity. And I do hope that you had a chance to play around with colors a bit more, to kind of understand what you're leaning towards, what color palettes you prefer, what styles and approaches to coloring you enjoy more. But in any case, don't worry, because as we progress through this course, you will naturally start developing a unique approach to coloring, to formatting and adding labels, and creating your own unique visualizations and developing this unique style of visualization. And today, let's move ahead and talk about labels and formatting. So we've got this chart in front of us, and as we discussed, there's a very high likelihood that this chart might be featured in a report or be posted somewhere on a wall. So we want to make it look very schmick and just very, very appealing to the eye. But that is not the only thing we're pursuing today. There is one more thing that we are after, and it might be, it is definitely as important as making the chart look awesome. And that is ease of understanding. Let me demonstrate with an example what I mean. So here on this chart, we definitely have all the information that we need. We've got the names of the people. We've got the regions that they're working in. We even have the total values of sales that they have performed. And so the bars have this axis, and you can, by looking at the bars, tell how much approximately each person has made in sales. So let's see what happens if, for instance, I ask somebody to tell me how much sales has Bill made. The person has to find Bill, so we'll look around and we find Bill here. Then the person has to move their eyes up to the top of the chart, and then the person has to, don't worry about this pop-up on the right here, it's just in Tableau, so when you do produce this report, you won't have this pop-up window. So once again, the person has to find where Bill is, move their eyes to the top of the bar, and then move their eyes to the left to understand where the total sales sit. And here they sit at about maybe 1,000. They're between 1,500 and 2,000, so maybe they sit at around 1,750 or 1,800. Let's do another one. Let's see how many sales James made. So once again, we find James. We move our eyes to the top. Then we move our eyes to the left here, and we can see that James is somewhere between 1,001 and 1,500, but because he's further away from the axis, there's a bit more room for error. So maybe he's with this eye movement, maybe he's sitting at 1,600 or 1,700. We can't really tell. And so that means that the person who's reading this chart has to put in some effort to get the information out of it. And that's not the way it should be. Tableau is a tool that allows you to very easily create visualizations, but also it has the capacity to make those visualizations to be very, very easy to understand. And that is an art form in its own. That is a part of what data scientists do. We look for ways to communicate information in very simple forms so that people don't have to put in effort to understand it and extract information visually from what we're presenting them. So let's try fix that. What can we do? Let's try adding a label. So here you can see this button over here, label, and what that does, it adds textual information to the chart. And what we're going to add is we're actually going to take the sum of total sales, we're going to hold it, press Control, and drag it onto label. And as you can see here, now the actual sum of total sales has appeared on the bar chart. Oh, actually, James was between 1,000 and 1,500, so that's, yeah, definitely not 1,600. There you go. Now we can actually see the exact number of sales that each of these people has made. And that already makes analysis or reading this chart much, much easier. Now, while we're on the topic of labels, we can add more information to labels. So let's say we want to add representative. Just drag him into label. Now we have the name there as well. We can also drag region. But that's a bit excessive because we already have the representative name here, and we've got the region name here. And moreover, the region is the same for all these blue bars, the same for the orange and green. So that is definitely excessive, and we're just going to remove those now. So we'll take region out and representative out. And now we're left with the total value of sales. Now, you can edit the label further if you go into label and then you click this dot button here. You can add your own text if you like. So you can say sales colon. Okay. And so here now you can see that your text has appeared in the label. Also, you can see that this label is not displaying any text because it is too big. It would overlap this label. And you can fix that by right-clicking and saying mark label, always show. And that way, it's always going to be displayed. So now we're going to go back to label, go to the dot. We're going to take out this sales text, and we're going to click OK. So what we want to do now is we want to fix up the formatting of our chart. And that is probably the last step to getting our chart to the ready for production level. So let's start with the labels. If you want to change the size of the labels, you just go into label over here and you select size and you select the size that suits you. So let's go with 12, and maybe you want to make them bold. That looks pretty good. Also, if you go into dot, you can do the same here. So 12 and label size. Also, you can change the color. You can do a lot of things, but we'll keep it at black for now. So that's good. That part's done. Another thing that we want to do is we want to change the type of label, and I'll explain what I mean now in a second. So we'll just right-click on the labels here, and so this is where you normally go to format things. Labels have their own formatting over here, but all other things in Tableau have formatting through this right-click format button, which is pretty much the same as going here and selecting font or other things like alignment and so on. So here, when you right-click and you go to Format, once again here you can change. Let me close that again. So right-click Format. So this is the axis. You've got to be careful here. You got to go to the pane because the label is in the pane, not on the axis. And here you can change the type of label. So just to prove that this is label, if I change this direction, you'll see that the label is changing its direction. Once again, you can do the same thing from here. You can change the alignment like that. What you can't do from this, from here, is the type of label and the type of numerical label that we're using. And in this case, we're using numbers. So let's go ahead and change that to currency. Let's say we want dollars. So we'll go currency custom. As you can see, it's automatically moved because it's not fitting, but we'll take out 2 decimal points. And now you can see that this is much more appealing. It's got the dollar sign in it. And now also, let's say we want in units of thousands. So let's say K, and we'll add 1 decimal point back. So that's even better. So now we can see approximately how much sales each person's made. And it's very, very easy to digest. There's no numbers that that are unnecessary. One thing you should be aware of is you can't really change the font size through this menu here. You see, I'm trying to change the font size, but it's not changing, and that's something just like a feature of Tableau that hasn't been looked at. That's because the label font size actually overrides the font size that you select here. So be careful with that. Okay, so we've formatted the label. Now what else we're going to do is we're going to format the axis. So we're going to right-click on the axis, once again, Format. We're going to go to Axis here, and we're going to change this to 12. So kind of it's best to keep the size consistent throughout. Then we'll go to this axis. We'll also click Format, and we'll change this to 12. You can see that Matthew is not fitting in, so maybe make this a little bit bigger. Now Matthew fits in as well. Format this axis, change this to 12. This is actually unnecessary because we know that central means region, and we know that these people are representative. So we'll just right-click, and we will hide field labels. And total sales, one more thing. So here we will right click, edit axis. We will split total sales by the two words because that looks better. And also one more thing, if we edit axis, if we format the axis and we go to axis here, what we want to do is we want to make sure that these are also dollars. So currency, get rid of that, make it K, and there we go. So now it's consistent. You've got K's here. Also, it would be better to probably put one decimal place back because there is one decimal place throughout the chart. And that's how we format charts. In the next tutorial, we will look at how we can export this chart into other documents. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, happy analyzing.